my name is D.Rogers. I'm from divaservant.com and this is the launch party for Stage Might Performers Interview Series. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to see you on the other side, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be bringing these interviews to you.
Shut up and sit down.
This series is for you, the up-and-coming performers, or perhaps the performers in the profession who are wanting to get the inside edge. I am interviewing performers who are currently working on stage and screen in Australia, internationally, and bringing them directly to you to get the insight you need to be the best performer you can be. So let's do this. A graduate of the University of Southern Queensland in Toowoomba, our next guest made waves in the acting world when he landed the coveted role of Benjamin Braddock in The Graduate, alongside American actor and supermodel Jerry Hall. He has worked with most major theatre companies in Australia, including Queensland Theatre Company, Black Swan Theatre Company, and the Gordon Frost Organisation, and in his spare time, he has a passion for fighting. Stage combat, that is, training and choreographing with the likes of stage combat royalty Nigel Pultich and Scott Witt. Please welcome Tim Dashwood.
Tim Dashwood.
You?
Gee.
Rockin'.
It has been Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your rather intense rehearsal schedule, which is for what?
For The Odd Couple for Queensland Theatre Company at the moment.
So you're in Brisbane at the moment?
I am in Brisbane at the moment. It's good. I like being here.
And your family's well?
Family's well. I just had dinner with my mother and she loves to talk. She's very happy about everything.
That's awesome, including having you back in the Yeah, nice. So let's get into it, because we both know that we both can talk quite well actually on everything.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are watching right now, it's about 9:30 at night, and this is what happens when you're trying to get people to have conversations with you around ridiculous rehearsal schedules. So we're enjoying a 9:30 p.m. wine, I hear.
Just a little bit of wine.
And it's a good year and a good bottle and a good vintage, so we're all good.
Happy.
Very happy. Okay, let's get started. Let's theatre. We've known each other for a while, so we can get a little bit, personal later on, maybe.
Yeah.
Won't push the boundaries too much. But let's have a look at your performing background. Let's see where you started. Let's go right back to the beginning. Let's break it down into bite-sized chunks. Where have you come from? What have you done? And go.
Go. Well, I grew up in Toowoomba and I used to watch a lot of TV and a lot of films. And so I guess I kind of like performing that way. But then my parents got me really heavily into music at the start. So I played the cello was my main instrument, and then I ended up learning heaps and singing as well. I sang sort of from grade 2. I sang A Whole New World with a girl in my class. It was great. So I started with singing and the cello and a little bit of piano, but the piano didn't go very far. And then as the years progressed, I realized I love playing the cello, but I wanted to do something cooler than that, so I learned.
Cello's not cool enough? Hey.
Cello's cool, but in an orchestra, sometimes you don't get to play the best things.
No, you don't.
And when you go to an all-boys school,
okay.
like I did, and sometimes the violins, like some violins are awesome, some aren't, so then some of the music we played was not really exciting. It wasn't boring, but it wasn't great. Anyway, so cello was okay, but I taught myself the bass guitar so I could get into the cool bands. Also the flute, because no one else played flute at a boys' school.
Wow. Started
learning the bagpipe. I tried to teach myself heaps of different instruments, and so I did heaps of music. But then there was a point, and my school didn't have drama either, or it did. Grade 9, 10 was the first time drama was offered, but all the dickheads at school did drama as a bludge. And I was like, well, having to do stuff with them, I don't want to do that because I don't like those guys. So I didn't do drama grade 9 and 10. And then it wasn't offered grade 11, 12 for our year. But it's exciting now. I actually go back and I teach at grammar once a year, and they've got 15 classes. They've got heaps of boys doing drama. It's amazing. But but then sometime in grade 11, 12, or even grade 10, I started going, actually, music's not what I want to pursue as a career. I was sort of interested in acting, and my grandmother pushed me a little bit, and then I auditioned for USQ. I got into USQ, and then learned throughout that 3-year course that actually that is what I wanted to do, being an actor, like, because it was tough. I didn't do very well for the first year and a half. And actually, even in the third year, I got some bad marks. But I sort of started going, this is what I want.
What were the bad marks in?
Bad marks, well, in acting. In acting.
In acting?
Yeah.
It's all subjective anyway.
Subjective. Yeah, they love me now at USQ, don't they? So. But that's what I really, really like doing it. And then I was really fortunate to keep getting a lot of opportunities. And I think that's something, I don't know, I know there's more questions coming, but there's something that the more opportunities you get, the as long as you're focused and you know what you're doing, or you've got a goal, you will always learn from those experiences. So the more opportunities you get, the better you should be getting as you go.
Absolutely.
Which is fortunate if you get those opportunities and if you work hard.
Well, this is true. It does come part and parcel with opportunity taking part and so on. So with your USQ, was USQ the only thing you did? What have you done since training wise? Has it been?
Yeah. Wow, that's huge, because whenever I chat to students about that, I do talk about this a lot, because that's another thing, like being a wanky teacher kind of thing, is that just because you do a 3-year course doesn't mean you are then suddenly an actor, or you're not suddenly then a performer. That you only get certain skills there, and some of those skills may not help you. So you may spend a whole year not learning something, not because the university's bad, but just because that particular thing is not going to gel with you as a performer. So no, I did heaps of other stuff outside. Like I said, the fighting stuff. So stage combat. I did meet Nigel Poulton, who was my mentor for the last 10 years. He's my guru. He taught us at university, and then I got a great relationship with him. So then over the last 10 years, he and I have trained quite consistently in both stage combat and just movement systems. He's a big physical, loves movement systems. So he has taught me so much stuff.
Just go back to movement systems. Sorry, just explain to everyone what movement systems are. Just briefly. Dictionary. Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, I mean, wow, it's just different ways of looking at how we can use our bodies effectively for different reasons. So what we like to focus on is something called theatrical biomechanics, which was by a Russian theatre maker, Meyerhold, who was around the same time as Stanislavski, for all those playing theatre at home. But he was about using economic movement of the body and how to tell a story and how to use your body effectively to help you tell a story, to be theatrical, but then not necessarily melodramatic either. But then there's heaps of, kabuki, and there's so many different physical systems.
Do you have a favourite?
Well, yeah, I'd say biomechanics, but that's because it's the one I've studied a lot and I have a great understanding of. But then, things like Buto, I don't really understand it enough, but I'd love to know more. And Suzuki, and there's a lot of Japanese methods that I think. But I think that's what's really interesting about all arts in a way, is a lot of them talk directly to each other, and it's about how much you understand it properly that actually gives it the truth or the true meaning of it. So there's a lot of things we talk about in my biomechanics, which when you hear people talk about Buto or Suzuki or those sort of methods, you sort of see correlations between those things. I'm getting attacked by a moth. Sorry. So you see, edit that bit. But you see different systems that are similar, but just a different terminology. And you get that just with acting technique. You have all these acting techniques. At the end of the day, you just talk to the person in front of you and be the person that you're meant to be. And that's
like what's going on here.
Yeah, exactly.
For everyone playing.
But so many people have theories, and somebody subscribes to Declan Donnellan's book or to, gosh, all the names escape me suddenly, but different methods of acting, when really at the end of the day, it's kind of the same thing no matter what method you use, but there's just a different road to get there, to be all metaphorical. Same with martial arts, same with spirituality, all this stuff, which is what performing is. It's about being a person, human being. Yeah.
Completely and utterly. Existential and essential
at once.
Outward, just, yes, all this. Exactly. Deep.
Yeah.
Very deep. Let's get a little bit lighter.
Sure.
It's probably a little bit early and another half glass of wine down before we get that deep. But let's go back to acting as a going into all the methodologies and that kind of thing, going into discussing this kind of thing. The acting profession is full of stereotypes, and like method actors, for example, are all very I have to be in the moment, I have to be living it to be able to produce any kind of real performance. What stereotypes are you aware of in your field, and what stereotypes do you work to dispel?
Wow. Yeah. It's tough because I guess all the stereotypes you do see in one way or another. This one's probably the top of my mind because I just saw The Seagull at QTC, and this sort of has a moment in it where just more about the actor who thinks they're always on, or who's always in front of a camera, who's always performing for someone to get a role, that sort of thing. And so you see that a lot where there are these people who try to be professional and network, but are really annoying and really it's self-obsessed.
Yes.
And you see that a mile away. And a lot of performers are self-obsessed, and sometimes, to be honest, sometimes it helps, sometimes it works for people, but you see it straight away, and the people who are casting you see it straight away. And so I find that's people fall into that so easily. And I don't see how it helps people because I only see when it's painfully annoying. Like I've been at drinks after a play where I've been chatting to an artistic director, and somebody who was in the play butts into the conversation and says, "What did you think of the play? Do you have any roles for me next year?"
Oh, yes.
And I think they've said it with a bit of a joke and a bit of but at the same time, they're totally butting into a conversation that was already going. They should, especially as actors or any kind of performer, hopefully we're a bit...
Opera's rife with it. Opera's full of it. Full of it.
Yeah. But you'd think people are, we, as performers, we are more attuned to how people work. You'd think.
Theory.
So you know that they're having conversation, and if I butt into it, I need to do that gracefully, not just with smash coming in. But... that's one of the stereotypes that I find most often and most painfully. But then you also just find people who are really into themselves, which, it exists. So trying to dispel that, I guess when you only say dispel, I'd only dispel a stereotype in myself, because something I also say is at the end of the day, you can't worry about other people. What they do is their own problem, unless you're their teacher or you're their mentor, you're somebody who is in a position to tell them they're a dick and they need to stop it.
Sit them down, have the conversation.
If it's your role to say that, but otherwise, you have to just let people make their own mistakes, and you just have to worry about yourself.
Well, or you listen to, video series like this and you hear someone actually saying it, and then perhaps you take it on. Hint, nudge, wink. Yes.
What's interesting, I won't name names, but there's a couple of actors I know in the past who, a few of them have been, when I chat to them, and they're still at university, they say things to me as if they are, and this may be me being a wanker too, but they say things to me as if, oh yes, I know this person, I've been doing this and I've been doing that, as if they're proving themselves to me. And I was like, mate, I don't care what you're doing, and I don't care about what you tell me that you're doing. I'll just wait until I see you perform, and then then I'll care. Or not care. Care's the wrong word, but you don't tell me. Show me, don't tell me is a big problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then at the same time, I get other students who just say, hey, do you mind if I add you on Facebook? Thanks so much for coming to see the show. This is another thing I'm doing. I'd love to see that. Those are the kind of people who I go, well, I am much more connected to you, and I'm much more interested in finding out what you do, because you haven't told me everything you know.
Exactly.
And you haven't tried to prove yourself. You've just given me what you are trying to achieve, and that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Not sure if that was what we were talking about, but yeah.
Look, it'll tangent.
Yeah.
Yeah. then that's totally cool. I have a friend of mine named Daniel. He goes on tangents all the time, and he calls them tangents.
Tangents.
I like that. So maybe a tingent.
Tingent could be.
Guys. Okay, so gosh, wow, this is some incredible stuff, and I know that a lot of people are going to get a lot from just talking to you. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because I know you're very real, and I really respect that. Yes, you are. Just yeah,
Awesome.
I recognize that because I try and keep that same real in what I do, which is full of not so real,
Yes.
and a little surreal. So I really respect that, which is something that I will openly tell you now, that respect and kudos and namaste. Yeah.
Okay.
The crazy in me recognizes that crazy. So let's go into this is a tough one. Okay, let's look outside this. You're an actor, and with that tends to come the whole working in other jobs and the things that stereotypically actors and performers do. We do the retail jobs, we do hospitality and so on. But as performers, we are natural born entrepreneurs. We brand ourselves, we market ourselves, we are our business. So how do you keep yourself afloat and out of the cafes? And also, what have you learnt doing these kind of activities about yourself and about the profession?
Yeah, wow, cool. About the entrepreneurial stuff or about the dodgy jobs?
Well, dodgy jobs. The fact that you don't ever want to be doing them, there's a good start.
But I mean, I guess just one thing that I think leads into it is in the dodgy jobs that I've had, and I've found this, is that I've been, I think, awesome to work with. So my bosses love me working for them. And so whenever I suddenly disappear for a 3-month contract, they're happy to have me back because they know that, when I was in a bottle shop, the bottle shop was never better looking in the morning when the manager came in than when I worked there. So so they knew that I worked well. And
Yeah.
I think that was just me trying to make sure I still had money. But at the same time, I think that can transfer into as a performer. And if you're running your own business, if you, clock off work because, I've finished for the day, then you are not doing yourself any favors. If you need, if in a rehearsal at the moment in The Odd Couple, I've got a pretty small part. I don't have many lines. I'm only on stage for a certain amount of time. But so in those situations, it's actually really easy to switch off straight away. But if I suddenly realize that I'm behind and I'm actually not on top of my lines and the lead dude is, and I'm the one who's slowing everything down, then it's my job that night to go home and come in the next day not having that trouble again. Mm-hmm. And so I think as a business, we are as a sole trader, we are the product. So if the product's consistently under par, and this is just in the rehearsal room, but if you're consistently coming into work and just not quite getting it, then for me, it's that particular director may not want to work with me again. If I go into wardrobe, for example, because wardrobe ladies are the best.
Be nice
but
to your
for some
wardrobe
reason,
ladies.
I don't understand why that is it's not even a cliche. I don't know why that has to be a saying. That shouldn't be a saying, but it is because people are obviously horrible to wardrobe people. It's incredible because, because they are part of what helps the entire. And I think that's the other thing is that performers, that coming back to the stereotypes as well. We forget that we are just a small cog. Sometimes you don't get a role because you're too short, you're too tall, you're a little bit fatter, you're a little bit too skinny. You're taller than the girl who's already cast. You're taller than another person. So there's so many things that have nothing to do with your abilities necessarily that may not get you a role. So then if you do get a role, then you need to use your abilities as best you can to show them why. So I guess, and I think that's the old cliche, if you're only as good as your next job, I think is still a bit wrong because your next job only comes from you being good in the job that you're doing. So, so I think that marketing, but then on top of that, there is, the websites and your online profile, which I think I'm a bit old school with this, because I just think my work will work for itself.
Yeah, exactly. So I always, before an interview, before talking to people, I will stalk them, just because everyone's on Facebook, everyone's online somehow, somewhere. And it's not necessarily an invasive thing. It's something that, I respect a lot of what people do, and I like to know what's going on, and particularly because a lot of the performing arts, I know people in every single part of the profession, and I respect what they're doing, and particularly secretly want to be them probably. But I want to be straight acting versus singing opera, and I want to be on doing cabaret versus singing opera, but singing opera as well. So, but in your case, you're not on. You don't have a website. You are on Facebook. Sure, you're on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your big profile, really. It's your website.
It must be, yeah.
It must be.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's your reviews, it's your what else? Your reviews and the company's promotion, really. And that's pretty much where you feed your career from.
Yeah, well, and obviously my agent as well, my ex-agent, has helped with that heaps as well. And I think it's interesting because it's something I sort of want to get into, but the way the industry works, I think this is how I find the industry works, is the people in the industry don't necessarily go to your website to find out who you are. They'll go to your CV and to your reviews. And I guess that's why people do websites, so they can put all of that into one place. But things being the way they are, it's pretty easy. And it's also, unfortunately, the cliche, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I'm trying to change that idea of, it's not really who you know, it's who knows you, your abilities, and how much they trust you. Because that is the other thing. So it is, networking isn't necessarily about promoting yourself all the time on social media, because that's another thing. I find I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but it'll come back,
right.
I'm sure.
It's okay, we'll follow.
But on Facebook, I know a lot of young people who, I just had the best audition ever. I can't tell anyone yet, but exciting things are happening next week, And so, don't tell us. Don't tell us, because next week when you don't tell us because you didn't get the audition, then, you've just shot yourself in the foot. So, and I think there is a fine line between being proud of yourself and promoting yourself on social media, and just being selfish, self-indulgent, and trying to appear bigger than you are in the things that you do. The amount of people I know in the industry who say, that was the most incredible workshop I've ever been to. Words cannot begin to describe. And then they say, I feel so blessed to be a part, spelt A-P-A-R-T.
Yes.
Now, I'm a bit of a grammar phobe sometimes, and that's the
wrong
way to say it.
Own it.
You need a space there, because they mean the exact opposite. Yeah. So if you were really happy to have nothing to do with that thing, great. But if you're trying to... Anyway, but my point is not really about the part. It just really gets up my nostrils. But it's more about if you're constantly saying how awesome everything is, then you're actually just deluding yourself in a way, and you're not really promoting yourself by... So anyway, that's a bit of a tangent on self-promotion. But I just keep coming back to, you don't get roles by your... it's general, because sometimes you do. If you've got a big profile, then sometimes people use you because you will attract more people. So, yeah. So, but I think there's a line where that starts to be important. I don't think it starts to be important when you come straight out of university. That's not when you need to have 50 million followers.
I'm going to go back to the university just on that, because how How important have you found working with the people that you have worked with at university level? How important have you found them as a career leverage, from a career leverage point of view? How has it worked for you or not? Or has it been really irrelevant? Or
No, we're not. Well, I go back to Nigel being an example. He taught me at university. He wasn't necessarily a lecturer. He was invited in, but he having a relationship with him and continuing training with him introduced me to so many people across the industry, and then some things are even way more recently where he's actually sort of mentioned to people who haven't met me yet that maybe I might be worth seeing. But then also, like, I guess USQ at the time I went through had a really good reputation. So just the fact that I'd been to USQ, there was a knowledge in the industry of who or what stock I'd come from. I guess. So in a way that was invaluable. Also, while I was at uni, this sort of goes back to, I didn't fully finish this, but on top of doing movement stuff with Nigel, I also came down to Brisbane and did lots of clowning workshops. I think movement and clowning were the two main things I really tried to do outside. But just by doing that, it introduced me to so many people in the industry. And that's how networking kind of happens. If people know who you are and what you can do, then you're more likely for them to mention you to somebody else who may have a connection. So, and straight out of uni, I'm pretty sure my lecturers had words with people in the industry. They didn't go and seek it out, but people in the industry knew I'd trained there and contacted my lecturers to find it out. And also, but the best thing about university is the training. You get 3 years of, well, depending on what it is, but you get 3 years of non-stop training. And that's the experience. It's the 10,000 hours.
Yep.
If you subscribe to yeah.
That's it. That's true. It's so true. How important do you think it is for someone to consider diversifying?
Hugely. Because I think that, well, my career was kind of built on diversification. So I do movement things, although there's very few fights I've ever done on stage, and it's only more recently that I've been able to do fights. But in saying that, a few years ago I did a slapstick ladder routine where I fell off a ladder.
Yep.
That was pretty much the only thing I did in that show. But I wouldn't have been able to do that had I not had the training, the physical training, sort of how to do that. And same with music. I come from, like I said, started musically, and then my first gig out of university was I had to sing and play guitar in that, then pre-record all these songs for it. Then the next show I got was I had to be a Foley artist. So I was obviously still a character, but I had to be able to play, make sounds and do all this stuff, which did I not have a musical ear. It's not that it was overly musical, but if I did not have a musical ear, I wouldn't have been quite as good in the audition or in the room, and maybe those things wouldn't have happened. So being able to do many things is really important. As long as my other thing though is not just picking things because you can grab them. It's not just like, I did a course in Scottish for an hour. So now I should do everything Scottish and tell everyone I'm Scottish, which isn't, that's a random example. But for me, it's like opera. I'm not a classical singer. I'm not an operatic singer. So if there was a role of Les Mis, I'd love to be in Les Mis, but I knew you need to be really classically trained quite well. Quite well? That doesn't make any sense.
We would say legit trained.
Legit trained. And I can fake legit-ish, but...
Can't we all tell?
Can't we all? But it's that kind of thing. I think there's a point to your diversification that it's your own choice. If you want to go out there and be bad, and you want to put yourself singing bad out in front of a panel, then sure. But I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it totally does.
Diversifying is really important. As long as you own the things that you diversify in, you actually spend time in them, because that's what all of this stuff is about, time. You can't just do it overnight.
And particularly in this world where it's all it's instant gratification, and need to have that skill now, but that skill now actually, did you know that it takes 3 or 4 years just to develop?
Yeah.
And
it's like Book of Mormon. I've talked about wanting to tap. I've wanted to tap forever, but it's not been something on like, it's not been easy because I haven't had a tap teacher, and because I'm very fortunate. I work a lot. If I have a tap class during the day, then suddenly I'm doing rehearsals during the day, and so then it changes to night, and I do a show at night, and it's just too hard to organise things. And so I've talked about tapping ever since I left university to my parents, because I'd love to be in Singing in the Rain, or Book of Mormon is coming soon.
Yes, it is.
And you have to be able to tap as one of the boys. Like they do a tap number, and so I've sort of shot myself in the foot because I'd love to do it, but I can't tap still after 10 years.
You still could. It'll take another 10 years. We'll see you when you're 40.
Yes. And I'm saying I have been doing a few classes, but it's I have to really commit to that. But then there's other things that, like stage combat, where now I teach that, and now I want to be a better fight director, so I need to spend time to learn how to do that and to just research and build those skills, which takes time away from tapping.
Yes, it does. That it does.
That it does.
Yes, that it does. Let's ask one more question, because this is something, again, that a lot of young performers, and we divert a little from what we've been talking about, but, hey.
Whatever.
Tangent. It's that kind of evening. I'm going to say, what guides you to make the study, training, or career choices you make? And this is getting personal. This is getting a bit deep. This is like real Tim.
Real Tim. I guess acknowledgement. One of the things is acknowledgement of not having those skills. I think that's kind of first and foremost. How?
How is that acknowledgement presented? Is it personal? Is it external? Is it?
Well, I think a few things. One, like I do keep coming back to Nigel a lot because he's my mentor, and so I do put a lot of faith and trust in him. So he's told me a lot of things. I think this is what's great about having a mentor or being a mentor, is that you need to pick someone, or it's great if you can get someone and listen to what they tell you. And even if it's your parents, like I've had my mum come to see me in a few musicals and tell me, that's not you singing, that's you trying to put on some weird character, and that's not your normal singing voice. Where's your singing voice gone? And things like that. And I go, oh, well, that's good. And so I go and do more training and find out reasons for that. That's a bit of a weird one, but or you have friends who tell you whenever you act, you always rub the back of your thigh when you're
quirks.
And quirks, and then and even though you may, I know I kind of do that, then you suddenly tap in and go, far out. I do that all the time. What do I need to do to change that? And maybe it's physical training in how to be aware of your body and that sort of thing. But I guess at the end of the day, it probably is a personal thing of seeing, because I don't have a good answer, but going to see things and going, can I do that? No. It's great to be critical. I think going to see a play and going, that was horrible, is fine as long as you have a reason for that. It was horrible because this story wasn't well told, or they spoke great and the text was great, but they just stood there the whole time, or whatever it is. It's great to be critical as long as you have a reason. So when you go see plays or see performances, see things, you should always be sitting there going, can I do that? Do I want to do that? How am I going to be able to do that if I get that opportunity? So I think it's knowing your limitations and seeing other people's abilities and going, wow. Because I used to say, I can move. I'm a mover. I can dance kind of. I can dance a bit. But I did Fame the musical with some incredible commercial dancers. And they, so I'd never say I can dance. Ever.
You quickly learn that you can't.
If that's the bar.
I got nothing.
At the wine bar.
I'm tunneling. Yeah. Yeah.
So again, I probably blabbed too much about that, but I guess it is just about seeing your weaknesses through other people. And sometimes it's somebody just telling you you're not good enough. Sometimes it's going to a musical audition and seeing everyone's reaction and going, wow,
Oh, was
they
that,
didn't
huh?
like that. Yeah.
Yep.
But again, that's being open. So if you're one of those performers who is all about themselves, you're probably not going to notice everyone in front of you who are going
down,
"Oh."
not watching you, and
Yeah.
Yep. That, this has been some awesome stuff, and I'm so excited that I've actually been able to talk to you. This is friggin' brilliant.
Good.
Off the wall. Okay, so what I've been doing with everyone is this 5 questions in 25 seconds. Now, you can handle it. You can do this, okay? So this is going to have, we're going to have the stopwatch is just about to start, and you can limber up if you need to.
Yeah.
We can't have you hurting yourself, particularly before rehearsals tomorrow morning.
Actually, I think get the day off.
No!
Yeah,
See,
I know.
the actors work hard around here.
Yeah, also.
All right, let's do this. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You can do it? Okay. All right, ready? Go.
Can't do it, but yeah.
In your opinion, what is your biggest career achievement to date?
I meant to say Jerry Hall, but also I did a play where I had to do an hour and a half in improv with another girl who I'd never met before.
Ooh.
And it was awesome.
Knowing what you know now, what is something you wish you'd been told when you made the choice to perform as a career?
Just be honest, be open, and do good things.
That's okay.
That's it.
Who is your biggest inspiration and why?
I'm going to say Nigel. He's my mentor. He tells me when I do things badly, and he always makes me be better. Also, my family, who have nothing to do with the arts, but always tell me what they think.
And that's good that you can trust that side.
Yeah.
Do you have a pre-performance ritual?
It depends. I think every role is different, and there's every different role means you need to prepare differently for it.
Oh, your alarm's gone off. Oh, no, denied. We will ask the final question just because you.
It's only a minute.
It was 55 seconds. It wasn't even a minute.
Crazy.
Sorry, continue on that one.
No, every role is different, so there's a different preparation for it. You know, sometimes it's a physical role, you need to stretch. Sometimes it's a mental role, you need to focus. Sometimes, yeah. So
it's pliable.
Yeah, I probably pee before every show.
How many times?
Normally, see, now I'm going on. But in a show, you get pee break. Like, you work out when you can pee. And sometimes you realize that there's this little sliver of time, but you can actually make it down to the dressing rooms and back when you never thought you could. It's amazing.
A lot.
Yeah.
And the very final one, which we've gone over, but that's okay. What is a piece of wisdom you would offer to someone on the same path?
It's my new mantra thing. It's not what you know and who you know. It's who knows what you can do and trust that you can do that and more. That's it.
That's awesome. But
work out what that means.
Put it on a greeting card, post it all over Facebook. It's now the new infographic. That's wonderful. Thank you, Timmy D. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining me on this Stage My video series. It has been an absolute pleasure and a trip just to have you on the other side of the computer screen. So thank you.
Okay. Yeah, good. Thank you. It's fun.
It is fun. It is good fun. And to all of you watching out there, I hope this video has added fuel to your passion fire. Leave your insights and comments under the video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next interview. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, that'll get cut, and then yeah, we're all good. But oh my God, thank you so much.
No worries, that was cool.
Thanks for joining me for the Stage Might launch party. I hope you enjoyed this interview as I did bringing it to you. And there is heaps more to come. If this has helped you toward your performing dreams and goals, why not let your friends know by sharing the love around? And for all the coaching, mentoring and training resources you need, go to divaservant.com. Follow me, D.Rogers, the Diva Servant on Facebook, or head on over to Instagram. And we'll see you on the next interview.